What if everything you thought you knew about Carrie Underwood was a lie? She won America's heart as the sweet, small town girl with a golden voice, a wholesome country idol who could do no wrong. She sang about faith, family, and forgiveness. Her image? Flawless. Her life? Picture perfect. Or so we were told. But behind the glittering awards, the tear-jerking ballads, and the multi-million-dollar brand, there is a version of Carrie Underwood that few ever saw, a version she hid for years, until now. In a shocking confession, Carrie finally admitted what fans feared all along. The image they fell in love with wasn't the whole story. In fact, it wasn't even her story. So what has Carrie Underwood been hiding all these years? And why did she finally decide to come clean? Stick around, because once you hear what really happened behind the scenes, you'll never see her the same way again. From the very beginning, Carrie Underwood was presented as the country music industry's ultimate success story. A fresh-faced girl from Chicada, Oklahoma, who walked onto the American Idol stage in 2005 and belted her way into superstardom. America didn't just vote for her, they crowned her. And the industry wasted no time molding her into the ideal image of a modern-day country queen. Carrie wasn't just talented. She was marketable. Blonde, soft-spoken, devoutly Christian, and seemingly scandal-free, she checked every box. Her debut album, Some Hearts, shattered records, and her rise seemed almost too perfect to be real. With each new hit, with every flawless red carpet appearance, the narrative deepened. This was the good girl of country, the one who wouldn't fall off the rails, the one who wouldn't give the tabloids anything to write about. She married NHL star Mike Fisher in 2010, reinforcing her family persona. Interviews showed a smiling, grateful star who said all the right things. She talked about prayer, staying grounded, and keeping a close circle of friends. The media ate it up. So did fans. Carrie Underwood wasn't just admired, she was idolized. But sometimes, when someone seems too perfect, it's because they're trying very hard to make you believe they are. Old interview clips started to resurface where Carrie would say things like, "I never wanted to be famous," or "I still don't see myself as a celebrity." At first, those lines felt humble, even endearing, but looking back, they sound more like red flags. Because if Carrie Underwood didn't want the fame, why had she spent years building a meticulously curated brand around it? In photo shoots, she was always glowing. In interviews, always composed. She was rarely caught off guard, rarely off message. It wasn't just discipline, it was control. And once people started paying closer attention, they noticed something else. Carrie didn't just have an image, she was guarding it like a secret. The truth? That small town girl story the world bought into. It may have been more of a script than a reality, but the signs that something was off didn't just start when she was famous. And as the years rolled on, the image began to crack, revealing glimpses of a Carrie that was far more complicated than anyone suspected. And what came next would flip that wholesome narrative on its head. While Carrie Underwood dazzled on stage with powerhouse vocals and a polished smile, the real show was happening behind closed doors, where she controlled everything with surgical precision. To the public, she was graceful and gracious, but those who worked closely with her described a very different Carrie. Former handlers, makeup artists, and crew members have all hinted, some anonymously, some not, that Carrie wasn't just a perfectionist. She was obsessed with control. From lighting angles during photo shoots to the type of questions allowed in interviews, nothing was left to chance. Everything was rehearsed, everything was filtered. It wasn't long before whispers started surfacing about her backstage behavior. Quiet, unconfirmed rumors at first, just little things. A last-minute venue change here, a mysteriously canceled press junket there. But the story started adding up. Some said she had become increasingly hard to work with, demanding, inflexible. One anonymous tour insider even described her as having ice in her veins. The Carrie Underwood fans saw on stage may have been warm and relatable, but the one backstage, that version they said was sharp, guarded, and distant. And it wasn't just whispers from staffers. By the early 2010s, the country music community started to notice too. While other country stars like Miranda Lambert and Casey Musgraves were seen laughing it up with fellow artists at award shows and music festivals, Carrie always seemed separate, cold even. There was no real clique, no girl gang, no visible besties from the country world. In an industry known for collaboration and camaraderie, Carrie was the outlier. Tension even simmered between her and Miranda Lambert, once considered friendly rivals. Fans began pointing out moments of subtle shade between them at the CMAs and online, Miranda was brash, fiery, and rough around the edges. Carrie was controlled, polished, and some would say calculating. Whether it was personal or just artistic tension, it became clear Carrie wasn't just different, she wanted to be. Even fans began noticing something was off. By 2015, her interviews felt robotic, almost rehearsed. Same lines, same smile, same surface level charm. Something was missing. The sparkle had dimmed, and in its place was someone who looked increasingly like a brand, not a person. But then everything changed. One night, one event, and one story would unravel the illusion she spent years constructing. An accident, they called it. But once people looked closer, the questions started flooding in, and nothing about it added up. It was late 2017 when Carrie Underwood disappeared from the spotlight without warning. No tour announcements, no social media updates, just silence. Then, weeks later, a statement dropped like a bombshell. Carrie had suffered a fall outside her Nashville home. According to the official story, she tripped on her front porch, resulting in a broken wrist and severe facial injuries that required more than 40 stitches. Fans were stunned, but confusion quickly followed, because something didn't sit right. She never showed photos, no selfies, no casual public appearances. For months, Carrie stayed in the shadows. And when she finally resurfaced, she offered a cryptic warning. She might look a bit different, and she did. Her face, still beautiful, was subtly but undeniably changed. The scar was barely visible, yet the difference sparked an avalanche of speculation. Fans and gossip sites began dissecting every pixel of every new image, pointing out inconsistencies. The story of a simple fall just didn't match the extent of the damage. Was it really just a freak accident, or was something else going on? Some believed it was a cover-up for cosmetic surgery gone wrong. Others thought it might have been something far more serious, perhaps an incident involving someone close to her. A few even speculated that the fall was a metaphor, not a literal injury, but a carefully crafted excuse to explain a deeper breakdown. Then came the theories that really got people talking. Reddit threads lit up. Blog posts popped up overnight. Some fans suggested she may have been the victim of an altercation. Others pointed to her absence from industry events and speculated that Carrie had used the accident as an escape hatch, an excuse to disappear, regroup, and rebrand. To this day, she's never fully explained what happened that night, and maybe she never will. But the effect it had on her career and her public persona was immediate and undeniable. When she finally returned to the spotlight in early 2018, it wasn't just her face that had changed. Her demeanor was colder, her interviews more clipped, her music more raw. The mask had slipped, if not completely fallen off, and the woman who reemerged wasn't the one fans had known for over a decade. But the real shock? That wasn't even the turning point. Because soon people would realize the Carrie Underwood they thought they knew may have never existed at all. While Carrie Underwood kept her public persona tightly polished, her relationships within the music industry quietly began to erode. Unlike many country stars who thrived on collaboration and camaraderie, Carrie operated like an island, isolated, selective, and increasingly distant. Fans started to notice something odd. She almost never collaborated with other female country artists. No duets with Miranda Lambert, no joint tours with Kelsea Ballerini, no powerhouse anthems with Maren Morris. And when she did team up with someone, it was carefully controlled, usually on her own terms, on her own albums. It wasn't just rare, it was strategic. Speculation grew that Carrie simply didn't get along with her peers. While others laughed together backstage or praised each other in interviews, Carrie's name was strangely absent from those conversations. At award shows, she was polite but distant, professional but never warm. The phrase frenemies started floating around online, especially in reference to her rumored rivalry with Miranda Lambert. Fans recalled icy glances at CMA events and subtle digs in acceptance speeches. Nothing ever confirmed, but the tension was there, quiet but undeniable. Then there was Brad Paisley. For nearly a decade, Carrie and Brad were the unbeatable hosting duo of the Country Music Association Awards. Their chemistry seemed effortless, their banter was funny, natural. But after 2018, Brad was suddenly gone, and so was any mention of him. Carrie didn't thank him in her farewell message when she stepped down from hosting. No public shout out, no sentimental goodbye, just silence. Industry insiders whispered about a falling out, something that had gone sour behind the scenes. Some claimed Brad had grown frustrated with how everything had to go through Carrie's team. Others said Carrie was tired of playing the comedic sidekick and wanted more control over the narrative. Even her relationship with American Idol, the very platform that launched her to fame, became strained. While fellow winners like Kelly Clarkson continued to honor their roots, Carrie distanced herself. She rarely acknowledged the show in interviews and has turned down multiple opportunities to return as a mentor or guest judge. To fans, it felt like she was burning the very bridges that built her career. And the deeper people dug, the more it looked like Carrie had spent years constructing walls, not just between herself and the public, but between herself and nearly everyone in the industry. Was it arrogance, trauma, or was it a defense mechanism born from years of pressure to be someone she never really was? Whatever the reason, one thing was becoming clear. Carrie Underwood wasn't just rewriting her public image. She was wiping the slate clean. And it was only a matter of time before she'd reveal why. Beneath the glitter of award shows and the glamour of sold-out arenas, Carrie Underwood was fighting a quiet war no one could see and few even suspected. For years, she projected strength, flawlessness, discipline, but privately, Carrie was unraveling. In 2018, she shocked fans with a rare moment of vulnerability. In an emotional interview, she revealed she had suffered multiple miscarriages, 3 in the span of 2 years. The news hit hard. It clashed violently with her public image of a woman in control, a woman whose life always seemed to follow a perfect script. But even in that confession, something felt incomplete. Her delivery was stoic, her details vague. It was a glimpse behind the curtain. But just barely. Insiders say those losses took a deeper toll than she ever let on. She became increasingly withdrawn, spending more time at home, skipping events she would have once headlined. Her social media became carefully curated, with fewer glimpses into her day-to-day life and more polished promotional content. And then came the comments that truly rattled fans. In an interview around her Cry Pretty album release, Carrie admitted she was dealing with anger, bitterness, and a feeling that she was trying to keep it together for everyone else. Words like that, coming from someone long perceived as calm, composed, and unwavering, were jarring. She even said something that stuck with fans like a cold gust of wind. People think they know me, but they don't. That statement wasn't just about privacy. It was a crack in the facade. A signal that the Carrie Underwood on stage wasn't the same woman behind the scenes. She had built her brand on being unbreakable. But now she was openly questioning whether that version of herself had ever been real. Insiders close to her camp described a growing sense of distrust, not just with the media, but even with her own team. Some left quietly, others were replaced without explanation. She became more involved in every detail of her career, more guarded, more hands-on, more alone. Her music began to reflect it. Cry Pretty wasn't just an album, it was a coded cry for help. Darker lyrics, heavier themes, less glitter, more grit. Even the artwork was raw. Her famously perfect eyes smudged with streaks of black like mascara-stained tears she didn't want the world to see. For the first time, Carrie Underwood wasn't performing perfection. She was exposing pain. But she hadn't told the full truth yet, not even close. Because the real confession was still coming, and when it did, it would rewrite everything we thought we knew about her. In 2023, during a quiet, no-frills podcast interview, far from the flashing cameras and polished press junkets, Carrie Underwood finally said the words that stopped fans in their tracks. I spent years pretending to be someone I wasn't. No dramatic buildup, no PR-approved phrasing, just raw honesty. For the first time, Carrie admitted she had carefully crafted an image of herself not because it reflected who she truly was, but because it's what people wanted her to be. And for years, she had gone along with it, smiling on stage, giving safe interviews, singing lyrics she didn't always believe, all while feeling like a stranger inside her own story. I hated the fame, she confessed. Not all the time, but enough that I questioned why I kept doing it. That one sentence peeled back everything. The decades of perfection, the relentless control, the isolation. Carrie wasn't just tired of pretending, she was haunted by it. She spoke about The pressure to be the golden girl, the Christian role model, the wife, the mother, the brand. And she revealed that at times she felt like a puppet, moving through the motions of a life that didn't feel like hers. She admitted to feeling detached from some of her biggest hits. There were nights I would perform songs in front of thousands of people and feel nothing, she said. I'd go backstage and wonder why I felt empty instead of proud. And even more startling were her remarks about her faith, something that had long been considered a cornerstone of her image. People assume my faith has always been rock solid, she said, but the truth is I've questioned everything. I still do. Fans were stunned. The Carrie Underwood they thought they knew, the country superstar who always had it together, was now openly saying she didn't, and maybe never did. Her confession rippled through the industry. Some praised her vulnerability, calling it long overdue. Others felt betrayed. Why build an image for so long only to admit it was fake, one fan posted. Another replied, because she's human, and humans break under pressure. Carrie didn't offer excuses, she didn't ask for forgiveness, she simply told the truth. She said she had spent years terrified of being found out, of letting people see the woman behind the rhinestones, of showing that she was angry, conflicted, exhausted, flawed. In her words, it was easier to pretend than to disappoint people, but pretending became a prison. The weight of those years, of that perfection, had finally broken her down, and in that moment, quiet, stripped of glitter, no auto-tune, no studio lights, Carrie Underwood didn't just confess, she freed herself. But with that freedom came a new question. What does life look like when the mask is gone and the world finally sees the real you? Stripped of the glitter, the gowns, and the gospel of perfection, Carrie Underwood today stands not as a flawless icon, but as a woman reclaiming her story. She's not the Idol winner anymore, not just the golden girl of country music, not a puppet for the industry or a polished poster child for perfection. She's something far more complicated and far more real. In the wake of her confession, Carrie didn't retreat. She didn't issue a formal apology or attempt to walk back her words. Instead, she leaned into the chaos. She began reshaping her career, not to appease the masses, but to express her truth. In recent live performances, fans noticed something different. The voice was the same, powerful, chilling, but the energy had shifted. There were no more fake smiles, no perfectly timed stage banter, no attempt to be likable. Carrie looked raw, fierce, like a woman finally doing it for herself. Even her fashion started changing. Gone were the glittering gowns and carefully curated glam. In their place, darker tones, sleeker silhouettes, less sparkle, more steel, less Cinderella, more storm. And her lyrics, no longer afraid to cut deep, she sings about fear, rage, isolation, even defiance. Gone is the passive princess waiting for healing. In her place is a woman wielding her scars like armor. She's also begun speaking out, cautiously but deliberately, about the toxicity of image culture, especially in country music. She called out the pressure to keep up the illusion, to smile when you want to scream, to play nice when your soul is exhausted. Carrie didn't just drop the mask, she burned it. For nearly 2 decades, Carrie Underwood lived inside a role that millions adored, a role built on perfection, purity, and performance. She was the American dream in heels, singing anthems about faith, heartbreak, and vengeance with flawless poise. But behind the curtain, the real Carrie was breaking. Now, with her confession out in the open, the fairy tale is over. And in its place stands something far more powerful, a woman who dared to dismantle the illusion and face the world without her armor. Her story isn't just about fame or music or the pressures of being a public figure. It's about identity, about what happens when the version of you the world demands becomes so loud you can't hear your own voice anymore, and what it takes to finally reclaim that voice, no matter the cost. Carrie Underwood's shocking confession didn't ruin her legacy, it redefined it, because maybe the biggest lie wasn't the one she told us. It was the one we all believe without question, that a person can be perfect, unchanging, and unbreakable. But Carrie is none of those things. She's flawed, fierce, human, and for the first time ever, she's free. So now we ask, was the truth too much to handle, or was it exactly what we needed to finally understand who Carrie Underwood really is? Either way, one thing is certain, she's not hiding anymore.